Joe Budden has a career that spans 23 years in hip-hop. He's a scrappy innovator, but he was forced to be that way. His first single blew up, it went gold, and it's used at sporting events, and it was his opportunity to tell everybody that they're wrong.
When we talk about one-hit wonders, they don't usually have a second wind or third, and they're not usually Nostradamus. They can't even predict their own careers. Those expectations are surpassed by his music, his media projects, and I believe that he is going to be the next media mogul, shifting us to wherever we're going to go with content creation. Since 2003, Joe Budden has appeared on the infamous Desert Storm mixtape hosted by DJ Clue. In the same year, he released his self-titled debut album, while also releasing the first mixtape in his long-standing series, Mood Music. The Mood Music series is what kept Joe Budden afloat during label tensions with Def Jam before he was ultimately released in 2007. He returns with Mood Music 4 in 2010, A Loose Quarter in 2012, and Some Love Lost in 2014, always using the mixtape strategy to take advantage of whatever he needed to get on the soapbox and make sure that he continuously put out music for his fans. The foresight to continue giving your fans music which was not dependent upon a label had been done, but not with this level of strategy and business acumen, and with the focus on your fans just being good music. He quickly realized the ease of digital direct-to-consumer would allow him to interact with his fans at a level that I think is unheard of. When he signed with Amalgam, he re-released his Mood Music series and did his first album since 2003, Halfway House, which featured the track Slaughterhouse, which later in 2009 led to the creation of the group and the album Slaughterhouse, which features Joe Budden, Royce the 5'9", Joel Ortiz, and Crooked Eye. He was the first to release music in a way that reflects the current streaming era. By releasing 1 or even 2 albums a year, he didn't worry about overconsumption from his fans because he knew that they would listen and enjoy it. And with a competitive mindset that outmatched a lot of his peers, if not all of them, this is what drives him to continuously be competitive in any industry today. There is not a single fight musically that Joe Budden ran from, be it Jay-Z, 50 Cent, or even Drake. The chance to spar with somebody... The chance to spar with somebody on the mic is something that I believe inspired even Kendrick Lamar to release the onslaught of records that he did on Drake. Joe Budden was the first to do it, and he did it against any and everyone.
Joe Budden's media career is a mixed bag at best, but he has proved that independence is way more important than taking a check. One of his first opportunities was becoming the morning show host of Hot 97 in 2004. At the time, the president of Def Jam, Kevin Liles, was really upset. He didn't want Joe Budden to be a rapper and a radio host. What Joe understood was prophetic. He knew that being a content creator and being a rapper was a way to boost your career. We think if he would have stayed at Hot 97, he would have had more momentum for his fan base to grow. But he didn't let that criticism stop him. Joe Budden has been credited with being one of the pioneers in hip-hop media. He's one of the first people to embrace live streaming on Periscope, but he also grabbed a handheld camera, walked around to studio sessions, pointed it at Drake, and recorded his girlfriend Tahiri Jose. Today we think about people like Kai Cenat, but Joe Budden was ahead of his time. He was the first streamer. He was in the chat room, sparring with people left and right, and also on the blogs every day, competing and arguing with fans.
It's almost the inverse these days, where if you want to be a rapper, you need to be in front of people all the time. You need to be on Kai's stream, and then the next day on Blackboy Max's stream.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how
they won't even let you be a rapper today if you don't have a social media presence.
Right.
And it's like, I sat in front of these things and did everything that was outlawed back then. Like turning this on in a room where people had no idea, hey, what the fuck are you doing? You can't just cut a computer on and without telling us and stream us. There's a value in these people hearing and seeing the creation of the song and how it comes together, who came in the studio, what girls you got, which is value in that, but not at that time. Not at that time. a little too ahead of the curve.
So Soulja Boy might be the godfather of YouTube, but Joe Budden was the first to do IRL content on the same platform. We also know that he was a pioneer of reality TV. And of course, reality TV isn't something that he started, but when he got on reality TV, we paid attention. His music career saw a boost when he was on Love and Hip Hop Season 3 in New York City, and especially when he started to beef with Consequence. That show is known now to launch a bunch of different careers, but Joe led the way with making mixtapes at the same time that he was on reality TV. While audiences were entertained by his antics, he released No Love Lost, which reached number 15 on the Billboard 200. After Love and Hip Hop, it was clear that his media game was working. The first iteration of the Joe Budden podcast, called I'll Name This Podcast Later, was the entryway to a budding career. What we didn't predict is that his consistency with podcasting and being a media host was going to lead to something a lot better. Joe often talks about how he had to learn the business the hard way, or basically experience hardships in order to get a little bit more resilient. So he stood on business with Complex and Spotify, turning down multi-million-dollar deals just to go his own way. In 2021, Joe Budden partnered with Patreon to lead the way for independent music creators. Under his Patreon deal, Joe Budden continued to release the Joe Budden podcast and have audiences as a fly on the wall. They record their podcast multiple times a week and allow for fans to access for free, but also behind the paywall on Patreon. In the middle of 2025, we learned from New York Times that Joe Budden has amassed a podcast network worth $20 million. We're no longer looking at the everyday struggle of the rapper. We're looking at somebody that could read the crystal ball. We think in the next decade, we're going to see Joe Budden's media empire continue to rise.
His podcast network is currently the training ground for multiple podcasters who have gone on to create their own companies.
We believe that Joe Budden is leading an independent revolution where we can go direct to consumers without the middleman.
We learned you can't pump up a fan base by using other people's money, but by investing in your own talents. But what do you think? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below with your thoughts. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next piece, a 1 and a 2, and peace.
Today, we think about people like Kai Cenat.
We've learned you can't. We've learned you can't pump up a fan base by using other people's money, but by okay. We've learned you can't pump up a fan base. We learned you can't pump up a fan base. No, it's not gonna work. I have to do it the way you wrote it.